Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me for this video. Today we're going to be talking about step number 2 in our overseeding and renovation project, and that is dethatching. Couple updates very quickly here before I go into the dethatching portion of this video, but if you've been following my channel and you've been following this renovation, then you know that I was going to wait, if possible, until we had some construction done on the exterior of our house. However, that's looking like it's still 3 to 4 weeks out and maybe a little bit longer. That puts me into October now, so I cannot do that. I have to get going on this now and hope that I can get grass seed growing and things established before they come and do the work on the exterior of our house. I don't know how that's going to turn out exactly, but I really don't have a choice at this point because I can't wait until October to get going, or I will not have grass seed established before we get frost and freezing temperatures. The other thing that I did before I'm going to do this dethatching is I took my string trimmer out and I scalped off all the dead spots as much as I could. You can do this with a mower, however you can get closer to the ground with a string trimmer and you're not going to do any damage to your mower blade or anything like that. So this part's only for if you did decide to kill some of your yard like I did. I wanted to get rid of all that dead grass before we go in with the dethatcher, just because I didn't think it would get down all the way to the soil, and that's pretty much what I found. Now on to the dethatching part. This past spring I did a video on a thatching rake, and if you have a small yard or a very small area that you want to do this, then a rake like that is perfect, and I still use that rake for various things as well. And coming up in the renovation, I'll be using that rake to do a little bit of prep work with the topsoil that I'm going to use. But that rake really works well if you have a small area to do and you don't want to go out and buy something or rent something powered. Now for me, I knew that I wouldn't be able to use that rake for my yard. I have too big of a yard. A lot of people told me on that video that if I'm looking for something powered, to look into a Greenworks product that's an electric dethatcher. So that's exactly what I did. I picked one of those up on Amazon for what I feel is a pretty good price. I think it was around $85 at the time. I'm not sure if that's a sale or if that was the regular price. But I was able to use that for my yard this time, and although it's only 14 inches in width, it really went fairly quickly, and I really felt like it did a good job. So let's go over what I did on my yard with that tool. Now thatch is a buildup of organic matter that's right on the soil layer there, right at the bottom of the grass, and you actually want some of this to be there. In a renovation, it's a little bit different because we want to remove all that dead stuff that happened during the summer. As I mentioned before, we had a drought here, so I had some grass that really didn't survive that, and it's buried down in there, and you don't really see it too much until you mow the grass as low as I did, which I got down to 2 inches with that Honda mower. And I saw how much dead stuff was down in there, so I decided it was a good time to get rid of that before we do the renovation. This is going to open up the soil to a lot more seed, and once we do the aeration as well, those two things together are really going to create a good soil bed. So with this tool, it's essentially just as easy as plugging it in. I like to start it up in the air and get the tines moving and then put it down onto the grass. And then really it kind of walks itself along. You can control the pace a little bit by moving forward just a little bit faster, but you don't want to pull it backwards. You just want to go forward in one motion, and as I mentioned, it will kind of pull itself along. You'll see that it actually removes quite a bit more than you thought was even down in the grass. So I thought it did a fantastic job. Obviously I've only used it one time for my yard. I did my side yard, I did my front yard, and the other side on the north side of my house. And for that use, I thought it did a wonderful job, no problems with it whatsoever. So really, if this is something you're looking to do, you could rent something. You'd be looking for something called a power rake if you wanted to do that. Otherwise, for the price, I feel like this is a really good option. So I will link to this in the description below if you want to check out this tool. As I mentioned, long-term use, I don't know exactly at this point, but I felt very comfortable with the machine, felt like it did a great job, so check that out if you're looking for this option. The second option would be to use a mower and a bagger on there if you have that. I found this to be a better option because the mower kind of acts like a vacuum and picks up all that dead stuff, and it just cleans up the yard a little bit better than just a rake alone. So really, that's the option I would go with if you have that option. Otherwise, you can rake it up. That will work as well. In the next step, we're going to be moving on to the aeration, and as I mentioned, if your yard is really dry at this time, you're going to want to start to water it, at least so that you can pull some good cores out of there. You don't need to go too crazy where it gets too wet and you're going to be tearing up a lot of stuff with the aerator, but if your yard is super dry, you will want to water it right now before we do the aeration. So that video is coming up very soon. I had to kind of do all of my steps put together on Labor Day weekend, so I'm just going to crank out these videos as soon as I can get them edited, and stay tuned for more. Thank you very much for watching this video, and we'll see you next time.